I am Smrita Chaudhary, and I will be, along with my colleagues, Sanchari and Shaunak, we will be taking the session forward. We have an excellent panel with us today. So our first speaker is Dr. Jagannath Biswakarma. He's based in the UK. And we have Dr. Shafali Gupta, who's based in Australia. And also we have Andy Epifani. I'm sorry if I've got it. Okay, cool. Thank you. So I would like to first welcome everybody and thank you to our panelists for giving us your time. I would like to first speak a bit about BioSpeak, which began in 2020 when the world literally closed down, and us as researchers, students, PhDs, and postdocs, we obviously had got confined, but we cannot confine our scientific collaborations. So although the face-to-face collaborations came down, BioSpeak became a forum for online scientific conversation. And therefore, this platform was conceptualized to keep the scientific conversations going on online through different webinars and through different speakers sharing with us their experiences, their stories. So today's session is two stories that come from two different continents, but with the same aim of tackling pollution, climate change, and saving our planet Earth. So the first speaker, Dr. Jagannath Biswakarma, he is an environmental scientist and who works in the School of Earth Sciences at the University of Bristol, UK. His research interests lie in environmental biogeochemistry, water quality and treatment, and also has tremendous interest in science policy. Before joining the school, Jagannath worked at EARWOG Swiss Federal Institute of Aquatic Science and Technology in Switzerland. He received his doctoral degree in environmental sciences at ETH Zurich, Switzerland. His research was featured in Forbes magazine, highlighting the importance of understanding biogeochemical processes occurring in waters, soils, and at soil-water interfaces, which significantly impact water quality, agriculture in the global south. I welcome Dr. Jagannath to give us your story, your ideas, and the floor is to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Smrita. Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel discussion today. And thanks to the Biological Speaking, the community that you guys are building. I think it's very encouraging to learn that science doesn't know any boundary and it goes beyond any restrictions and limitations if one wants to speak science in volume. So thank you so much for doing this. And I'm today very excited and delighted to be part of this panel, especially Shafali and Andy's. I think startup has attracted a lot of global attention and I have been reading about them. So I'm particularly here to learn about Shafali's ideas and all. But by doing so, I also have to give a presentation. So let's start with my presentation, which is about water sources, supply, and security in these modern days. Let me know when you see my screen in full. So, as Smrita mentioned, I'm at the University of Bristol currently and looking at different aspects of water quality and treatment in my research group. So let's start with some statistics in the beginning itself. So here in this slide, you see a report by UN, and it is, I took it from Sustainable Development Goal Report 2022. We are still fighting with the problems that we are facing in providing water to all. Since we know water for life, water is life, right? So, but you are still lacking difficulties, serious challenges. We are facing that, we are unable to provide water, clean water to all. It's reported that over 85% of the planet's wetlands are being lost in last 300 years. 3 billion people, 3 billion, it's a huge number. 3 billion people are deprived of quality water. 733 million people are living in countries which are under critical water stress, and only one quarter of reporting countries have more than 90% of their transboundary waters covered by operational arrangements. So it means we are living in a world which is going through tremendous changes, some good, some are bad, all right? Where we are living in a world which is growing together ever faster, but yet disintegrating. Although we have AI, artificial intelligence, which can solve a lot of our daily problems, but AI, agriculture, and irrigation is still lacking systematic investigation, lacking systematic policy reformations. So in this situation, where are we lacking? Where are we lacking to provide clean water to all? So with this presentation, my hope is to create some thoughts in your mind. I'm not here to discuss about research ideas. I'm here to discuss about questions, pertinent questions in our field, which perhaps help solving difficult problems. And why I'm talking about questions, not about answers, not about solutions. Because, come on, guys, we are living in a world which is so much well connected with Google. I mean, you search a keyword, you have the answer. Probably now, even in this panel, when you are hearing me, you know most of the answers. But do we know the right questions to ask? Do we really know the problems we are facing? So here I am trying to give you a strategy, a roadmap where we can do our parts in tackling difficult questions. So when I talk about water sources, supply, and security, I talk about water sources which is highly compromised with their quality. When I talk about water supply, this is highly compromised with water treatment scopes and facilities. And when I talk about water security, I try to mean here the water justice that we want to create for our citizens, of our global health. So let's see each aspects of this blogs in 3 different examples. I think we all know the water sources in this world. We have rainwater, we have rivers, we have oceans, we have wetlands. We have like different processes going on, evapotranspiration, precipitation, condensation, vapor transportation. As scientists, I think we are well aware of different kind of biogeochemical processes occurring in this planet, which triggers the water, which triggers the quality of water, which impacts the quality of water. But most of the cases here, we talk about surface water. In 2013, UN Water, they also talk about water quality. And they emphasize the water quality here only for surface water. So they talk about 1 in 9 people worldwide, they don't have access to improved sources of drinking water, and 1 in 3 lacks improved sanitation. Why talk about water sources and quality so stressfully here? My personal complaint is that when we talk about water, we talk about water accessibility, we talk about sanitation, but we hardly talk about the quality of water that we are providing, the quality of water that we need for our nutritional benefit. Most of the reports these days have started figuring out how we can improve the quality of water. But since past few decades, we have only and only ventured into providing water, not quality water, but just water. And hence, we only seen the most feasible source of water, that's surface water. But what about the invisible one, the groundwater? This year, for the first time, UN came up with the slogan that make invisible visible. So the invisible here is the groundwater. Groundwater that is accounts for 97% of global freshwater resources. It is essential to human and economic development because 1/3 of the world's drinking water highly relies on the groundwater. 40% of the world's irrigation water also depends on the groundwater. And 25% of the world's industrial water also depends on only groundwater. So we cannot neglect the quality of groundwater and just rely on surface water and their quality. So what do I mean when I talk about groundwater quality? I think as an Indian or Southeast Asian, we might have heard of arsenic problem in groundwater. I belong to Assam. Assam is in the range of, severely exposed arsenic threat. The entire Sundarban Delta, Bangladesh, Nepal, Assam, northeastern part of India, even Cambodia, Vietnam, we are all highly suffered, and I can say victim of arsenic threat in our groundwater. Here you see a map. It's a global arsenic map. It's not a prediction map. It's just the current status that we have geogenic arsenic in our groundwater. And you can see here in Southeast Asia, Latin America, mostly in the global south, we have more than required concentration of arsenic in groundwater. WHO, World Health Organization, they reported that 10 gram per liter or less than 10 gram per liter of arsenic containing groundwater is drinkable. But in most cases, we find more than 10 microgram per liter of arsenic. So arsenic is a geogenic contaminant present in water. And we can just brush off by saying that, hey, it's a geogenic one. We haven't done anything to it, so it's fine. But no, it is not fine because arsenic can go through different phase transformation. It can change speciation. The chemistry of arsenic can go through different behavioral changes, which might pose different risk in different ecosystems and public health. So we must be aware of those environmental factors. We must be aware of those climate change situations which can trigger the bad to the worst. So I think it's very important that we figure out how climate change induced impacts the water quality. One takeaway message that I want to give here now is that contaminants behave differently in different ecosystems under different environmental conditions. By assuming a treatment process applicable to all, I'm afraid to say it's a very false assumption, and it's a very false route to follow. When we talk about contaminants in groundwater, we must talk about irrigation as well, because as I mentioned, a lot of the irrigation supply agricultural processes involves irrigation, and irrigation comes from the groundwater. If we have contaminated groundwater, and if we're feeding our plants with those water, plants also uptake those contaminants in their system. So for example, in Bangladesh, if we have a groundwater which contains more than 500 microgram per liter arsenic, we are extracting them, using it for our agricultural purposes. Studies have shown that rice, the paddy fields, harvested food, they also contain arsenic. So it means we are not only feeding the ecosystem, the environment with toxic contaminants, but we are also feeding our own public with contaminated food. So I think it's very important that we understand and we take measures against this kind of climate change and environmental imposed water quality changes, because If we do not take care of those situations, public and environmental health hazards can increase multiple folds, and it will be beyond our reach to tackle this pollution with single treatment or remediation strategy. Let's talk about water supply now. So whenever I talk about water supply, people think of really complicated distribution lines. This is the image I have taken from EPA US, that you have a source, it goes to a treatment plant, it goes to the storage tank, and then there are a lot of different chains of distribution lines which goes and delivers water home to home, which is great. That's fantastic. What are the things that we need to take care of in this situation? This is, first of all, we need to identify and understand this is a complex process. We need to have continuous monitoring and assessment of source. We need to adapt the treatment strategy. So the treatment plant needs regular adaptation. And then continuous assessment of storage tanks are also needed so that we avoid massacres like lead contamination in water distribution channel. So I'm talking here about the big challenges, but what about local challenges? Here I present you a study that we conducted in Burkina Faso in Western Africa. The first time we managed to map a risk assessment map of arsenic contamination in groundwater for Burkina Faso. Not only we quantified the arsenic contamination in groundwater, but we also went ahead and gave a solution how we can locally treat the groundwater with locally available iron nails. So here you can see it's a very traditional way of filtering your water with buckets. So the first one we have in feed like water, which contains arsenic in the range of 500 to 1,350 microgram per liter. It goes through different layers of sands, gravels, and it goes to the second tank here, which also has sand, nails, gravels, etc. It's not fair to say that it's an easy process, because a lot of things depends how the output of your water would look like. Because we can easily say that zero-valent iron nails can remediate arsenic, but what kind of arsenic we are talking about? Are they arsenic 3? Are they arsenic 5? So the chemical speciation is very important. We also must know the microbial parameters of those groundwater or all those input water. If we do not know what kind of water we are feeding into our filtration chamber, we'll never know what kind of output we are getting out. So it's very important that we do this kind of treatment process regularly, but with very fine optimization. And this optimization can only be achieved if we do some laboratory studies where we understand the chemical behavior, chemical patterns, microbial impacts, and then go and translate these laboratory findings in field in household filters. So I think with this water quality and water source and supply systems, I guess you have got my point clearly that it has to be a decentralized scheme. We cannot rely on a central system which feed water to all. Decentralization of water quality monitoring and assessment needs to occur, and we really need to emphasize that decentralization of water treatment plants also need to occur to provide clean and safe water to all. Case-by-case study need to be done. We cannot fit one shoe to all. So it's very important that we do case-by-case studies. We understand the biology, the geochemistry, the physics of the particular ecosystem. We also have to understand their interaction with the human, with the nature, and with the other living beings. So only by case studies, we can understand the problems and then think of solutions. What about the identifying new contaminants? Geogenic contaminants I talked about, arsenic, fluoride is another one. Mercury we can talk about, geogenic and anthropogenic. There are a lot of organic contaminants that we are introducing to soils through fertilizers, through pesticides. What about their identification? And we do not only need to identify, but we also need to make estimates, make predictions. So we have to have risk maps for all these elements, all these compounds, all those kind of contaminants. And then only we can think of water treatment strategy and framework. So in the last slide here, I would like to talk about the water security, because water quality and treatment, ultimately, we are doing all this, we're taking troubles to solve problems in water quality and treatment to have a secured water for all. We want to create a policy, we want to create a systematic approach which gives water to everyone. It's not fair when somebody just buys, nothing against the industrial manufacturers, but it's not fair that somebody buys and go a very expensive water treatment system in their home and they get finer water, refined, clean water. But the same household, the neighboring household, if they cannot afford, they lack water, the clean water. So I think it's very important that at least for drinking purposes, we need to secure policies which provide water for all. And I don't know, honestly, I do not know how can we provide water security to all? Is it possible by 2030? Is it possible by 2050? Where are we lacking? I have no idea. And that's why I'm here today to discuss with you the pertinent questions in water sources, supply, and security. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jagannath, for giving a wonderful talk and insightful indeed, that although we are progressing towards 5G and we are able to reach Mars, but somehow our own home, our own resources, we are not cognizant, or we're not thinking enough how best to conserve what we have today. So thank you so much. I invite Sanchari to take the stage, please.
Sure. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So I want to introduce Dr. Shafali and Andy. Dr. Shafali and Andy co-founded Uuvipak with the mission to eradicate single-use plastics. Dr. Shafali has over 10 years of experience as a researcher. Upon completing her studies at St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, India, she got a junior research scholarship at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research for her research as a biochemist. In 2015, she was awarded a scholarship to pursue her doctoral research in cell biology at the University of Queensland, where she explored the topic of upregulation of Rho-A signaling during collective cell migration under the supervision of Professor Alpha Yap, a world-renowned cell biologist. She has also worked in collaborations with many disciplines throughout her career, such as immunology, microbiology, oncology, biophysics, chemistry, and biochemistry. She has authored leading or main author articles in international journals and scientific conferences. She completed her PhD in 2019 and was hired as a postdoctoral research scientist at the IMB Institute at University of Queensland. During her academic research as doctoral and postdoctoral research fellow, she discovered a passion for the environment and decided to start her own venture with her mission to create products that have a real and positive impact on the environment. On the other hand, Andy has completed a double degree in software engineering at the Politecnico di Torino, Italy, and Tongji University, Shanghai, China, and worked as a software developer for many years. He became passionate about user experience and design, and after completing his master's in interaction design at the University of Queensland, had the opportunity to work with a startup on a new Australian government projects that have had lots of reach. In 2021, after over 10 years in the IT space, he decided to take a career leap and started looking at agrotech and food tech as a way into building products that can have an impact on our planet. So I'd like to request Dr. Shafali to deliver her talk, and after that, we will wait for a panel discussion. Thank you.
Awesome, Sanchari. Thank you so much for a detailed intro. It's pretty late for us, so please bear with me. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And I'm a bit nervous now after such a great presentation by Jagannath. We all use packaging, right, in our daily lives, but we don't really think about the mess we create once we discard the packaging in any bin. Just for an example, the plastic bag, which we get from any grocery store, lasts for 20 years. The disposable diaper lasts for 500 years or so. So discarding any packaging not just create the problem of landfill, but it also dampens ocean health. Yes, 8 million plastic debris enters the ocean each year, and that's equivalent of 3,200 Olympic swimming pool. And once this plastic enters the ocean, they have a huge impact on marine health, as marine species ingest plastic debris, which causes severe injuries and sometimes their death too. Plastic proliferation threatens the climate on a global scale. Not just that, recently scientists at University of Amsterdam, Netherlands, detected microplastics in human bloodstream. So what's the solution? Where's all this going? How do we create a packaging which is good for our planet? There are some companies which are working really hard in this space, like Great Wrap, Ocean Cleanup, to bring a positive change. And I'm going to play a couple of videos from their startups.
We all know that our environment is precious and that plastic is causing irreparable damage. We could see that there was a huge disparity between what we were consuming versus the technology being developed around us. We recognised that there was an opportunity to marry these worlds together to create a better future. That's when Great Wrap was born. It started with just us, and now we have a team of some of the most talented minds on our side, helping us solve this massive problem.
Currently, we manufacture compostable cling wrap made from food waste, but we're not stopping there. We are designing processes that convert organic waste into plastic alternative solutions. Our products are not only compostable, but soon they'll be marine biodegradable too, so that no matter where they end up, they won't rely on future generations to clean up our mess.
And I'm going to play one more clip from Ocean Cleanup.
1.8 trillion pieces of plastic float at the surface of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Here, the Ocean Cleanup is deploying the world's first technological solution to this growing problem. The principle behind it is simple. Create a coastline where there are none. Concentrate the plastic and take it out. The system consists of a 600-meter-long floater and a 3-meter-deep skirt attached below. The floater provides buoyancy to the system and prevents plastic from flowing over it, while the skirt prevents smaller particles from escaping underneath. As the impenetrable skirt creates a downward flow, marine life can safely pass beneath it. Here is how the system catches plastic. The system takes advantage of three natural oceanic forces: winds, waves, and currents. Both the plastic and system are being carried by the current. However, wind and waves propel the system only, as the floater partly sticks above the surface, while plastic is primarily just beneath it. The system thus moves faster than the plastic, allowing the plastic to be captured. The skirt extends deeper in the middle of the system than on the outer edges. As the current applies pressure on the skirt, the system naturally adopts a U shape, which enables it to concentrate plastic in its center, like a funnel. The drag generated by the skirt also acts as a stabilizing force, allowing the system to reorient itself when the wind changes direction. And because the system, like the plastic, is free floating, it automatically drifts to the areas with the highest plastic concentration. Fitted with solar-powered lights, anti-collision systems, cameras, sensors, and satellite antennas, the system actively communicates its position at all times and continuously gathers performance data. Periodically, a support vessel comes by to take out the concentrated plastic, like a garbage truck of the ocean. The plastic is then transported to land, recycled, and made into durable products. This is the first of a fleet of 60 systems. Once deployed, the fleet is expected to clean up 50% of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch every 5 years.
And we decided to join the movement and bring a positive change with Uuvipak. At Uuvipak, we make 100% biodegradable, home compostable, and edible plastic alternatives. Yes, you had that right. Since we only use natural ingredients, you can actually eat our products. And with Uuvipak, we are tackling three major challenges. First, plastic pollution. Our products are 100% biodegradable, home compostable, and edible, so it solves the problem of plastic pollution. Second is plastic leaching with food. Uuvipak products do not contain any plastic or any microplastic or any other chemical compounds that might leach with your hot food or beverage. And third is landfill emissions. By upcycling food waste, Uuvipak materials solves the problem of landfill and methane emissions. We are currently working with local food and drink manufacturers to collect and process their waste into Uuvipak products. We brought together science and tech to create Uuvipak. I'm Shafali and I have over 10 years of research experience as a scientist, and Andy is an engineer and was an early employee in a very successful Brisbane startup. And we are currently working with a team of scientists, engineers to create packaging that can have a bigger impact on our planet and also into the future. And I'm going to be playing a small clip about Uuvipak now.
Every year, tons and tons of organic materials are discarded because they are of very low value. Some ends up in landfill, some are burned. No matter where they end up, they generate methane, a greenhouse gas that is 24 times more potent than carbon dioxide. This very same gas is also emitted by plastics when it is left in the environment and in landfill. It is estimated that all plastic ever produced is still with us today, and there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish by 2050. That is just 28 years from now. Think of a place where disposable plastic isn't used. In your bathroom, your kitchen, morning coffee, afternoon tea, your desk, in the car, at school, at the shops. Disposable plastics are everywhere. Introducing Uuvipak, world's first patent pending packaging material made entirely from upcycled clean organic food waste.
We rescue organic materials and turn them into all sorts of packaging. And since our materials come from nature, they're 100% planet friendly. They turn into healthy soil within 4 weeks after use, and they can be discarded in your home compost like any piece of food. Oh, and Uuvipak is also edible. This makes it perfectly safe for all plants and animals our products come in contact with after use. Uuvipak brings the circular economy to life by creating products from natural resources that go back to nature on their own. We're working with leading food scientists from the University of Queensland and have been part of global programs and accelerators to grow Uuvipak and make a significant impact on the environment with our products. At Uuvipak, we're on a mission to eradicate single-use plastic pollution. And the possibilities out there are just endless for us. From your takeaway cups and bowls to containers for fruit and vegetables, and even things like packaging for beauty and tech. We dream of a world where plastic pollution is a problem of the past. We only have one planet, one home, and we have to keep it safe. So choose Uuvipak and help us create a better future for us and generations to come.
Uh-oh. Hang on. Okay, so how can you help in solving this global problem at a small scale? Well, all of us can contribute in a very small step. When you choose products, just choose products with less packaging. Second, recycle as much as possible. Just try to use each and every product, each and every plastic bag as many times possible. And third, when you discard any product, just discard in the right bin. Don't just dump things. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shafali. It's inspiring to see that both yourself and Andy are taking the bull by its horn and putting all your years of experience to giving back to the community, giving back to the society, and really creating a movement that it is time to act today. The message that we received from world leaders at COP27 in Egypt, that if we do not act today, it's too late. So I'm so happy to have yourselves inspiring generations before us and inspiring the generation to come that we are definitely going to do something about it. And thank you so much for this. So with this, I would like to open the floor for a panel discussion, and we have a couple of questions. So, so there is first question is to Dr. Jagannath. So Saurav asks, is rainwater harvesting a better source to consume than depleting groundwater? And is it beneficial for our ecosystem?
Thanks for the question. So rainwater harvesting is, in general, is a good thing. I mean, of course, you can use it for your day-to-day purposes. You can use for your gardening. You can use for your toiletry uses. So rainwater harvesting is good. But I think more than rainwater harvesting, I would say if you can recharge groundwater with rainwater, that would be really great. So, and there are techniques these days available where you can directly collect not only your rainwater, but also diffuse this water almost 100, 200 meters below the ground. So I would suggest if you can recharge groundwater with rainwater, that's excellent. But of course, as a first attempt, rainwater harvesting is also good. So, yeah.
Okay. So there's a question for Shafali and Andy. So Saurav asks, curious to know at what stage of your career you thought of this initiative. This will motivate many early career entrepreneurs.
You go, Andy.
Sure. So at what stage? I think we both finished uni. We both started full-time jobs. And then, I mean, Shafali was working as a postdoc and I was working in a company. And I think just looking at the amount of waste that was out there and the little amount of solutions that existed, we kind of got stuck into, well, we need to find a way to be better and do something that is better than just buying things and throwing away so much plastic and so much packaging with every day, essentially, with anything that you buy. And so I think the jobs that we were in were really good, but didn't have that like immediate impact on something that we were seeing, was a big problem. And we thought, well, we need to find a solution to this particular problem because it's really, really bothering us. And that's when we decided to leave our jobs and sort of dive deep into, how can we find a way to get rid of plastic or eradicate plastic pollution. And yeah, so I mean, it's never too late or never too early, I guess. It's the answer. The answer is just, if you see a problem and it really, really bothers you, just try and look for a solution. And if you can't find a solution, go with it.
Thank you. So I have a question. So how do you collect all the organic waste, and how do you process? What is your process line like?
Okay, how do we collect the waste? We tie up with big companies like Grove Juice. They are like juice manufacturing company in Australia, in Brisbane as well. They sell juice to Coles Woolies, and we kind of like tie up with them to collect and upcycle different type of waste we want. So it's clean organic food waste. It's not dirty food waste. Normally people think when we say food waste, like dirty food waste. It's not the thing. It's clean. It's all clean and clear. So tying up with company kind of like brings the supply chain. And what was the second question? How we process is a part of patent. We just process, just leave it there. So yeah.
Okay. So there is Utsav Biswas's question to Dr. Jagannath. Which factors determine or influence the behavior and fate of any contaminant in the environment?
Thanks, Utsav, for this question. So there are different factors, like biological factors. So the microbes present in your system, like if we are talking about water, in groundwater, so I'll probably think of microbes that are present in soil or even below subsurface area. Except apart from microbes, we can think of physical processes, like if there is a circulation, diffusion, transportation mechanism going on there. If we don't want to think of physical processes, if we want to go for chemistry, then we can, I think of a lot of biogeochemical processes where like pH changes, oxygen concentration increases or decreases. So there are several factors like which can really impact the contaminant behavior, but all these factors are induced because of some changes. And those changes can be mostly it's climate change imposed, or if you do something mechanically, like all those anthropogenic changes can also create differences in, for example, oxygen concentration, and then it would impact the behavior of the contaminant. So it's a bit complex process. I would say coupling microbial, physical, and chemical reactions can change the contaminant behavior in a particular ecosystem. Hope that helps. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jagannath. So there is a question here from Shanak, who asks, it's for Shafali and Andy. What challenges did you face in commercializing the product and the competition between other companies working on recycled products?
That is a really good question. So starting from competition, I guess, there actually isn't any solution that is 100% made from waste. So our products are 100% circular. What that means is that they essentially come from nature and can go back to nature without, using any expensive or energy-intensive industrial facilities, which, is a very good thing, because especially in developing countries and even in Australia, really, there aren't many facilities to support this kind of composting processes. And in terms of commercializing the products, I guess we are going through that right now. There are a lot of benefits to using our product, so it hasn't been really, really hard to say, go out there and tell people, hey, we have this great product, do you want to adopt it? And good thing is that there's governments everywhere that are changing their regulations to support more products like ours and, you know, discontinue plastic or products that have plastic linings and that kind of stuff. So it is challenging, but it is also really rewarding to see the products get out there. So I think, I mean, the main challenge is just convincing people that what we have is better than what they're currently using. If I had to pick one, that would be the number one thing.
And the other question from Sanchari is, how do we overcome this plastic pollution in developing countries and countries with a large population? And if I may add, without waste segregation as well.
I'm not. Well, it's a really, really good question, and I think we've been asking this to ourselves a lot. I don't know if I have an answer right now. I mean, the main thing is, sorry, you. I was gonna say the main thing is try and be a little bit more conscious of the products that you use, and try and buy things that are less covered in plastics. Although I know it is really, really hard in developing countries, especially with, you know, products coming in smaller packaging or sachets or other kind of packaging that is not really that common in developed countries. But just be conscious of what you use. I think that is probably the number one thing, and how you dispose of things. Do not just throw them in the ground or in any bin. Just, you know, if there is a facility to dispose of something, make sure you use that, because even though you don't know what happens on the other end, at least it's not going to end up on, you know, on the street or contaminating the environment.
Can I add something here? I think I really like the question, and I also love the answer Andy gave. I guess here what we can do is that we can bring citizen science project, where public, because we all are now well aware of the adverse effect of plastics, right? So I think our goal is to reduce the production of plastic in any manufacturing unit. And if we want to do that, we really have to use less of plastic. So I think that's the basic mindset we should adopt as a citizen, but also it has to come from the policymakers, from the governments, that we need strict policies in developing countries against the plastic uses and consumption. And so it's a two-way road. So if you want to get rid of plastics in India, for example, use less. Show that you are not interested in plastic. You know, go for alternatives. Go for Shafali's product. You know, so then only you can somehow highlight that you are not interested in plastic. So it's always demand and supply, right? So if you create a demand, there'll be a lot of things, a lot of plastics available in the market. So if you somehow decrease the demand, it will vanish. So I think it's a both-way traffic. So yeah, we need to have a systematic approach to this. Shafali, you are thinking a bit loud, so I guess I don't hear your thought process. Yeah.
Yeah, also to add on that, now there are eco-friendly polybags as well. You got to pay a bit extra, but it's just good for the planet, good for you, good for generations to come.
Yeah.
And just choose like home compostable alternatives. And definitely government is something which has to come into the picture to have more home compost bins everywhere. And without putting much on government's shoulder, I think even at your home and in your home place, like or in your office, you can have a home compost bin. And that makes a huge difference, because if you're using an eco-friendly home compostable plastic, you can just chuck it in your home compost bin and that becomes a manure. So that's like the easiest thing to tackle without putting things on government's shoulder, because 1 point, I don't know what's the current population of India, but billion of people is not easy to deal with, like, yeah, for the government as well. So
thank you. So so we did see in the video that and he's chewing it. So Sanchari is curious, what is the taste of it?
I guess I should be answering that. It tastes it tastes like a biscuit in a way.
Okay. Tastes like a biscuit. And so there is one question from Deepak. This is for Dr. Jagannath. So he asks, how clean seawater, except high salt, compared to contaminated groundwater in some places like Bengal Delta, which has very high arsenic, and we desalted the seawater as a source of drinking water?
Okay, thank you, Deepak, for this question. I think, yes, of course, we can use our marine source of water for our drinking water, but it has to go through desalination process. And desalination treatment plants are energy consuming and very expensive. So I'm not sure how many desalination plants are there in India, but in worldwide, I think Israel is the champion of desalination treatment plants because they are the first one in the world which can smoothly run their treatment plants, which can eliminate salted water and produce quality water which is drinkable. So I think they are the ones who are expert in this field. US also is struggling. I think they have recently, National Science Foundation, they have recently rolled out their budget, and they have given almost $100 million just for desalination treatment plants. And I think California, they have, I guess 12 of them running, but they run on and off. I mean, it's very difficult to run a desalination treatment plants because they work on reverse osmosis. If you know, that's the basic chemistry they run on, and membranes clogged depending on the constituents of water. So clogging is a huge problem there. So I guess, and to remove these clogs from the pores of a membrane, you need a lot of energy and a lot of different techniques. So it is costly, and it's also energy consuming. So I'm not sure country like India, if they are successfully operating it, but it can be a good solution. Yeah.
So there is a question for Shafali and Andy. So this again, Deepak asks, how do you plan to be economically competitive for your product?
Our products are not expensive. As Andy said, we started Uuvipak out of passion, and one of the goal we had in our minds and starting days was to make our product as cheap as possible so people can easily replace plastic. So our products are as expensive as bioplastic. It's not as cheap as plastic because plastic is very, very cheap, and it's almost close to impossible to make that cheap product in Australia because we are Australian made products. So yeah, but it's as cheap as bioplastic, which is good enough because everywhere in Australia, at least, people are using bioplastics.
And Saurav asks, in which countries Uuvipak is currently serving, and how can common people be part of your initiative?
We are currently just in Australia, hopefully very soon in US, and hopefully India as well. How common people can be a part of it? You can just choose Uuvipak products, man. When it's available in the Indian market, just choose Uuvipak products. Yeah, but no, just choose eco-friendly products, and yeah, that's how you can contribute to the initiative.
Mm-hmm. So just out of curiosity, so Shafali and Andy, do you guys in due course plan to have any form of volunteering internship just so that we can get a citizen science project kind of thing with the concept of Uuvipak going into countries like India and other places? Do you reckon there could be, so that people who are really passionate about it but would like to attach themselves to an organization as yours has a way of expressing themselves?
You go.
I go. I think it is a really good idea. It is something that we haven't really thought too much about. I mean, we only existed for a year and a little bit. But definitely, I mean, not necessarily what we're doing, but there are so many other projects that, you know, if you are passionate about the plastic pollution problem, you can join. And the super simple one, if you live close to any river or any beaches, is just go out on the weekend and pick up plastics. It's just like, you know, one thing that is super simple and cleans not just pollution from plastic, but also waterways, and, you know, reduces the plastic from going in the ocean. And it is a really good initiative. So maybe yes in the future, not sure about right now. Don't know what the right answer should be now.
Okay, so with that being the last question for today, I thank everybody for asking such beautiful questions, and thank you so much to our panelists, Jagannath, Shafali, and Andy, for making time to share your vision, share your story, continents apart, with the same mindset that at the end of the day, we just have planet Earth, and Mars is way too far away for any of us to reach at the moment. So I'm absolutely in gratitude to all of you for joining us today, this evening. With that, would like to close this session. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.